I'll be dreaming. I'll be dreaming. I'll be dreaming.
So it's now part 29 of this rubber band ball, and I guess I'm just going to keep going. I ordered another box of these thick rubber bands and put the whole pile on my ball. I then took a break and came back later to place all these colored rubber bands that are also supposed to be garbage bag rubber bands. I placed the entire pile and it was done. And it's now 72 pounds. I rolled it downstairs, outside, and into the cul-de-sac. Here it is in comparison to my head, and here's me trying to throw it. And look, the basketball hoop fell over. But I can stand on it. And like if you want me to keep on going. So one day I got a comment that said I should launch my giant rubber band ball in my giant slingshot. So I pulled it back and it did that, as expected. But I also have this little rubber band ball that I pulled back and launched. It went pretty far, and then I launched it in my brother. Right there. And after that, I launched this pool noodle, and then launched it at my brother, but missed that. And then I got this GoPro and decided to launch it with the camera on. I pulled it back, and here's the camera's angle. It spun all around and hit the ground. I found it, and it was still okay, so I tried it again. And this angle was pretty cool. There's my brother picking it up. So I've learned these things are pretty tough, and comment what else I should launch. So I've been making this rubber band ball for a long time, and it's now part 30. And I ordered another pack of these big rubber bands and placed the entire pile. And after I was done with that, I got the pile of even more of these big colored rubber bands than I did last time. And when I was done with that, the ball was looking pretty good at 76 pounds. I took it out to the street, picked it up, and threw it the best I could, and then tried again. And I ended up just laying on it and then standing on it. So like if you want me to keep on going. So one day I decided to take my giant 70-pound rubber band ball to an abandoned water park to throw it down a giant water slide. I walked around trying to figure out where the slide dropped off and figured out it dropped off right over there. So I went down there to make sure it was retrievable, and it seemed doable. So I got the rubber band ball, took it up a bunch of stairs, and it was ready to go. On down this old abandoned slide. But first I wanted to try out this little one. So my brother went down there to film, and I threw the ball. And it went pretty fast, so I kind of lost track, but it went all the way down and out. My brother picked it up, and then I was ready to send the big one down. And I pushed it off, and it went down pretty hard and was making a lot of noise. It went around the curve, and then I could see it going through the tunnels. It was going really fast and started making even more noise, so some people started yelling. But despite that, the ball prevailed on and went all the way out. And here's my brother's perspective. That was cool. And then I lugged my rubber band ball home. So I'm now to part 31 of making this giant rubber band ball, and I got another package. I dumped out this pack of pretty big rubber bands and placed the entire pile. And then, like I did last time, got a bunch of these colored garbage bag rubber bands and placed them all. And these ones placed pretty good. I finished, and the ball now weighs 81 pounds. I took it downstairs and out to the cul-de-sac, where I compared it to my head, and then got up and tried to throw it. And then I tried to throw it behind me, and then stood on it. And even tried to ramp it, but just broke the ramp. So, like, if you want me to keep going, and comment any ideas you have for it. So one day, someone commented for me to try to trade my rubber band ball with the pawn shop again. So I put it in my car, and this would be my third time going. I walked in and said,
Back. Hey, what's happening, Dylan?
I actually have this new ball. I showed him my new aluminum foil ball first, and he said,
Pretty neat. You from getting an alien invasion.
I was thinking this thing is, started it, so it's probably not going to be worth a ton, $300. And he kind of looked at me like I was crazy, and then asked how many rolls of aluminum foil were in it, so I told him 6, and then he asked how much weight, and I didn't know, so I had him weigh it, and it wouldn't register.
How much did you spend on the foil?
About like 24. And he passed, so I threw it down and got the rubber band ball. Almost 80 pounds, and is the most famous rubber band ball in the world, probably, maybe.
That's massive.
He picked it up and then asked how much I'd sell it to him for. And I thought for a second and then highballed him at 25 grand.
1,000? Wow.
And he said his shop could probably only sell it for.
$100.
So I knew we had no deal. I had to pass. I got some candy and then went out the door. And the ball almost went in the street. Let me know any other ideas you have. So now to part 32 of this rubber band ball, and I'm probably never stopping, honestly. I bought another one of these packages, put it in a pile, and placed it. And then I got out all the colored rubber bands that are actually meant for garbage cans. And I placed that entire pile as well, and the ball now weighs 84 pounds. And I took it out to the street, and because my wrist is kind of hurt, I couldn't really pick it up, but here's it next to a basketball, and then we walked off together in the sunset, like if I should keep on going. So one day someone commented for me to add rubber bands to my aluminum foil ball, and I thought that was an interesting idea, so I'm going to try it. But first I got to fill in these gaps with aluminum foil. I had the bands in a pile and then began filling in the gaps with aluminum foil and hammering it down until it was all good. And then I began placing these leftover rubber bands from the rubber band ball series, the colored ones and these ones. And the ball looked good enough for now. Here's it next to me, and here's me throwing it. And then me throwing the rubber band ball. Let me know if you want me to continue adding bands or foil or what, and like. So I'm now all the way to part 33 of this giant rubber band ball, which is insane. And I got another box. I placed this entire pile of rubber bands, which wasn't that bad, and then dumped out all these colored garbage bag rubber bands. I had them in a nice pile and then placed them all one by one until I was out. And it now weighs over 90 pounds. I took it out to the cul-de-sac and tried the best I could to pick it up and throw it. And then I stood on it, and this time I actually didn't fall off it. I jumped, and here it is next to my head, and here it is rolling. Like if you want me to keep on going. So I'm now all the way to part 34 of this giant rubber band ball. And it's getting kind of redundant, but I'm going to try to keep it interesting. I ordered these bands, placed them on, you know. Then I got the other pile, which is these colored rubber bands that I actually have to untie first and then place them on the ball. And after placing this entire pile, it now weighs almost 95 pounds. I struggled to make it out to the cul-de-sac. And it's so heavy it even picked up grass. Then I picked it up and threw it. And look at it in freeze frame. Look how big it is. It's so big, there's really not much you can even do with it. Here's it next to a basketball. Here's it crushing one and then falling off. And then me trying to stand on it but failing and crushing the basketball goal. So, like if I should keep on going or comment what I should do. So it's now part 35 of my giant rubber band ball, and I decided to change up the scenery a little bit. I dumped out a whole box of rubber bands of different kinds. I started by dumping these colored garbage bag rubber bands into a pile and putting these gloves on so I don't hurt my fingers, and putting all the rubber bands on, and this happened. Right into my eye socket. And it hurt, but I kept on going because the rubber band ball wasn't going to make itself. I finished off all these colored ones and then dumped out these purple ones that I ended up not using because they were kind of trash. I got out these ones instead and placed the entire pile. And I was done and exhausted. The ball is almost 100 pounds now, and it's a pretty big struggle to get downstairs. Took it out to the street and barely picked it up. Yeah, it's getting pretty hard to throw now, so I just sit on it and stand on it. Like if you want me to keep on going to 100. So one day I ordered this $170 water gun that I saw on David Dobrik's TikTok. It was pretty cool looking. I was pretty excited to test it out. I put it in my hot tub and filled it on up all the way to 100, and then I shot it and I was shocked. I shot the gutter and it was amazing. Then I kind of went crazy shooting the window, almost the camera, then the pipe again, just shooting at the air and then at the ground and then in the hot tub. And then I did a cool 360 off the hot tub, and the gun was kind of making me feel like a kid. I shot this target and then got in the tree and shot at my brother. Then I let him shoot me point blank, and just look at this slow-mo. And then I shot him. And then he chased me. But then I decided to go on a mission to shoot my friend Austin. I drove over to him, had the gun ready, and snuck up on him, and shot him.
Ow, bro, what are you doing? Bro!
And he tried to shoot me while I ran off in the sunset. So one day I ordered one of those ab stimulator things I always see advertised to test if they really work. I opened it up, read the instructions, then put batteries in the motor and put the motor on and put it on my stomach. Then I turned it on and kept pressing the button to increase the intensity, and honestly it kind of tickled. And I decided to leave it on for a while to get the full effect and even do crunches and stuff. I had it on for a long time, and then I looked at the sunset and looked at my abs and realized it was time to take it off. And the results were amazing. Just kidding, that's not me. I'm right here and I don't really know if anything changed, and I don't really know if this thing works, so I just threw it over the fence but missed, so I threw it again. And then just walked away not caring. So one day I saw that I left my giant hamster ball out in the leaves for months, so I got a leaf blower, blew all the leaves out, and saw that there was still a bunch of Orbeez, so I cleaned all the Orbeez out, put them in the dumpster, and I also had to hurry because there was a storm coming. I rinsed off the hamster ball, and then decided to try to get in it with these hover shoes. I got in, and then my brother zipped me up and aired me on up. But I had to stop and get out because it got too dark and stormy. But the next day was super sunny, so I got in and tried again. It aired up, and then I put my hood on because it was kind of grimy and went off. I got on the hover shoes, spun around, walked around, and fell. Then I drove a little bit more, went off into the grass, then decided to get out and throw the hamster ball away because it was really grimy. But here's the good news. If this video gets 1.5 million likes, I'll buy a new, bigger, better $800 hamster ball. So one day I got a leaf blower, a skateboard, and an umbrella to try this thing I saw on TikTok. I didn't really understand how it would work, but I put the leaf blower on and tried it, and I didn't move at all. So then I got in a ripstick that I'm more comfortable with, thinking I would just move better, but it didn't do anything. So then I tried going downhill and then even flipping directions with the umbrella, and it didn't work. So then I got sad, but the sunset cheered me up. Psych, I was still pretty mad. I threw the basketball and then kicked it, yeah. So one day I got a comment that said to use Flex Seal on my giant pumpkin and then drop it, but instead I'm going to use it on a different one because I want to do something better to the other one. I gave it a nice coat of Flex Seal all around, and then I let it dry, and while I waited, we got some fireworks and my brother's poorly carved pumpkin, and then we tried to blow it up, but my brother missed, so we tried another one and it didn't really do anything. So then I got a different one, and it was kind of cool, but the next one was way better. Then it was time for another coat of Flex Seal. I sprayed it all around and then left and came back later to finish off the bottom. And it was ready to drop test. Don't try any of this stuff at home. I dropped it, and it cracked. It just cracked in half, and the Flex Seal held the rest together. But I smashed it and jumped on it. And I'm probably going to blow this 45-pound one up, so stay tuned. So one day it was really windy, so I took this giant 6-foot water balloon, and I tried to fill it up with air. I got my air pump out, filled it all the way up until it was pretty big. Then I stopped, zip-tied it, tied a string around it, and ran around with it. It was pretty massive. I spun it around, threw it. It didn't pop. I kicked it, still didn't pop, and then I threw it up in the air, caught it, and we were best friends. I ran around, put it in my brother's truck, tried to shoot a basket with it, and then I bopped it with my head and bopped it a little too far and it popped. I was sad. So one day someone commented to use my waterproof spray on a cardboard boat. So I found this cardboard box and taped it up on all sides to seal it. Then I cut out a hole for me to sit in and then taped that. And then I started spraying all the waterproofing stuff. I sprayed it all around and on every single side until it was done. And then I let it sit overnight and came back the next day, put it in my brother's truck and took it on down to the creek. And when I put the box in the water, it was still dry. So I set it down, got in, and started rowing. And it was completely working. I went out under the bridge and then further and then just chilled for a second and kept on rowing. This was probably one of the best cardboard boats I've ever made. And I just kept on rowing forever.